It's late at night, you're exhausted, you've had a long day, and your brain won't stop racing about what you did that day, what you have to do tomorrow, the episode on Netflix that you watched, or even the new toothpaste you have. The brain's all over the place, and it's like, can I ever get a break from these constant thoughts in my head? Well, no, you're not ever going to get a complete break. But if we learn how to be aware of our thoughts and to react to them differently, you can get a little bit of space from them. All right, so what I want us to do is do this little activity, a little exercise. So what you're going to do is I want you to say the phrase in your head, Polly pops pills. Now, let's not get hung up on this fictional character I just created and her drug problem, but say that in your head. And when you say that phrase in your head, I want you to think of, are you that thought, or are you simply hearing almost like a voice in your head? So say that, Polly Pops Pills. All right. So, I mean, obviously that may seem silly, but it goes into our first point of awareness. And that is you are not that thought. You are the observer of it. And that is the first key in overcoming overthinking is first being aware of thoughts as they come up. Not when you're thinking for 15 minutes and then you realize, oh, I'm thinking, but as each thought comes up, can you be aware of it? So I'm gonna break out the handy dandy whiteboard, making sure it's on screen. Yeah, it's a little far back, but I'm just getting started. So, all right, first step is to be aware of thoughts. Okay? Step number one, be aware of them. And the way we can do that, the way we can become aware of our thoughts is to label them in the moment. So when you're having that thought about your toothpaste, right? Just label it to yourself in your head. Say to yourself, thought, thought about toothpaste. And while that sounds stupid, and it kind of is, when we don't have awareness or when we don't label our thoughts, yeah, this clouds a thought. When we don't have awareness, let's say an X, okay? We're not aware we're thinking. We are in the thought. We are identified with it. But when we label said thought, we get a little bit of separation. We no longer see it as us, but we see it as something else. We see it as that thought. So now there's a space. Now there's a gap between our awareness, the observer of that thought, like Polly Pop's pills, and who we are, the awareness. Okay, so that's the first part, is first becoming aware of the thought to begin with. And how do we do that? We do it by labeling thoughts in the moment. Now, that doesn't mean you got to label your thoughts all damn day, but maybe just a couple minutes a day, you just sit there and you practice labeling your thoughts. Or if you notice a bunch of thoughts coming up, label them, just watch them. That creates a separation. The next part, so now that we have some separation, the next part we want to do, or now the next part that we have, the next choice that we have rather, is now we have two choices once we have awareness. And forgive my terrible handwriting. We can engage with it. Do we want to keep thinking this thought and go down a rabbit hole of more thoughts? Maybe we want to do that. Maybe we're thinking up a problem or a solution to a problem, rather. Or, like most of us, we go down a rabbit hole of first thinking about, how we need to get our oil changed. Then we end up thinking about how did dinosaurs really exist, you know? Because that happens to all of us. And that's the rabbit hole when we engage. But oftentimes, we're not even aware. We're usually just in it and we're being taken for a ride. So we can either voluntarily engage with our thoughts, or, now here's a crazy concept. This is wild. Let that thought be. You don't need to do anything about it. when you have a thought in your head, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to entertain it or engage with it. And this is a new concept or a new idea for a lot of folks, especially if, you maybe haven't been exposed to mindfulness or meditation, and that's okay. That's why we're doing this, is becoming first aware of your thoughts and then letting them be, not needing to do anything about them. So even when you are laying in bed at night, right? And you keep thinking and you can't stop thinking, and then you have that thought like, oh, I wish these thoughts would just go away. Come on. That right there is engaging with the thoughts. That's reacting to them. And that's actually giving them more importance, because when we resist and get mad at ourselves for thinking thoughts, we're giving these thoughts importance. We're saying to ourselves and ultimately to our brain that whatever thought comes up about our toothpaste and Netflix episode, each one of those thoughts is important because we're reacting strongly to it. Instead, if we just view our thoughts as, let's say, you know, Aunt Bessie or that 8-year-old down the street who stops and talks to us about his, fidget spinner, and we know like what he's saying, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, very nice. You see the difference in attitude? We give our thoughts so much importance because first, we are often not aware of them. We are identified with them fully, so we don't see that they are separate from us. So to do that, we label our thoughts, and then from there, we have two choices. Engage with it, where we want to think, or we simply let it be. And knowing that the human brain is always going to be thinking. The difference is if we know when to engage and when not to, over time, the brain or the thoughts that come out, they may not happen as frequently just because you're not entertaining and engaging, going down rabbit holes every time you have thoughts. Because when you do that, you never get a break from them. You'll never get a break if you're constantly engaging and just going with every single thought you have. And that's really hard to do. But over time, the more you follow these two things, being aware. Oh, I didn't write the other part, did I? I wrote the two choices, but I didn't say what the other thing was. I don't even know if you can read this, but we'll do it anyway. Being non-reactive. Yeah, I'm butchering that. But so that's your two steps that you want to focus on if you are an overthinker. And over time, as you become more aware and you become more non-reactive and just letting those thoughts be there, like your grandma or Aunt Bessie or a kid that won't stop talking, you change your relationship to your thoughts. All right, so I'm starting to repeat myself, but basically, if you keep doing that, your brain will adapt and thoughts won't ever go away. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you have a little bit more power of deciding which ones you want to follow and engage with and not. That said, I still get lost in the rabbit holes just like everybody else, but at least this gives you a fighting chance, if that makes sense. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you got a little bit out of it, and I will see you all next time. Thank you.